your host Toya, and today is Sunday, Communion Sunday, where I actually get to make something and show and share it with you guys. And today I am like so stoked. I'm so excited to bring this and do this one with you guys. So as you saw in the title, I'm making rose water and rose oil. Now the oil, I'm still debating on if I'm gonna come back and show y'all, like, because it's gonna take like a few days for it to happen. And I do have time because I am doing this early. This is actually Tuesday that I'm recording this video, so I can get it done before Sunday, but we're gonna see. So I may complete the whole entire process for the oil. If not, I'm gonna give you the instructions to finish it off. But we're making rose oil. So I have a rose bush right outside out the kitchen. I have a rose bush right outside my house, and every year it blooms, except for that one year with the beetles. And I've always wanted to do something with the roses, but I just never knew what to do or never thought or had the time to actually do it. So today I'm doing it, and I'm gonna share that with you guys. And what we're gonna do is it's a process. It takes some time, and there's a lot of information I'm going to provide to you. But before I get into the information part, I'm going to go ahead with the setup, because it does take it takes some time for this to boil and do what it needs to do. So we're looking at, I know this video is going to be at minimum about 15 minutes, just to let you know. So let's get to it. So I have try not to get pricked, a white rose bush, okay? And I got a bunch of petals in here, okay? Got a whole bunch of petals in here. And I'm going to be using, and I wanted to show you guys, I'm trying not to stick myself, which I just did. But I'm trying to show y'all how I pulled them off, okay? So you see the flower petals. Let's see. So I just do this. See the flower petals, okay? So all I'm going to do, I actually think, yep. Sorry, that was in my skin. Okay, just pull them off. Pull the petals off, and I'm putting them in the strainer. You don't have to cut the whole stem. I was just getting rid of, I was trimming the bushes and stuff down too, which is why I have this whole one together. I probably should have saved one of the other ones for y'all to see, but I'm just pulling them off. That's it. And I don't really care about the brown ones, because the way I'm going to be doing this, some of them don't matter. And the reason I have them in a colander is because we need to rinse them off, because they have little bugs, which is, I saw one on the counter already, so I killed that one. But they have little bugs on them, and so you want to make sure you clean them off. Okay, sorry, so I had to cut that last little part out, because I'm sure y'all didn't want to see me trying to get this piece of this rose thorn out of my skin. So it's just a couple of green pieces in here I'm taking out, making sure they're all nice and separated. All right, and now I'm just going to make sure I rinse them really good, so we can get all those little bugs. And this right here is thin enough for those bugs to get through when I'm rinsing them off. But you want to do this because you don't want little bugs crawling in your oil or on your countertop. I don't see nothing else. Okay, so I'm just, like I said, I'm just rinsing these off. Okay, so now this is nicely rinsed. Got all the petals separated, all the gunk off of them. Okay, I'm gonna strain this. And this is my first time doing this, y'all, okay? First time. I'm so excited. Which is why I decided to share it with you guys. So, before I get started, I'm not going to dry all of these off. I'm only going to dry the ones I'm going to use for the oil. Those are the only ones I'm going to dry off. I want to make sure they're nice and dry so it doesn't get in with the oil. Okay? They said about a cup. I'm going to just use half of what I got. Okay. Now if you have brown pieces in here, don't worry about them, because sometimes, you know, when you pluck them, the fresh ones, I notice with my bush, when I pluck them, they have a tendency. I think I'm gonna get a smaller pot too, because I don't think I need that big old pot for this. They have a tendency to start turning brown, I noticed, or maybe that's just mine. I don't know. I'm gonna let this sit so it can dry and soak up that moisture. I'm gonna get a different pan, because this one I don't need as much. We gonna do this. And don't worry, I'm gonna explain what everything is for. Don't worry. Be happy. Okay. All right, so this is drying off. Now, when it comes to, and let me bring you in closer. That was a little too close, y'all. So when it comes to the water, you're going to need a couple of things. So right here, I have distilled water. I have some little jars that I'm going to keep the rose water in, because I don't know how much it's going to make. I think I only need one of these, but we're going to see. I have a bowl with some rocks in it just to keep it way down. And I have a bowl that I'm going to use to collect the actual rose water. Okay? So, I'm going to put this bowl in. Actually, I'm going to put the rose petals in first. Now, there's some people who think the infused water is rose water, and that's not the case. So, you have infused water, and then you have rose water. What we're making is rose water, okay? So let me bring this in so you can see. What we're making is rose water, not infused water. Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with this camera today. Y'all just bear with me. Okay. So like I said, we're making rose water, not infused water. So you take your rose petals, piece of here and here. And you should probably have more than this, but we're going to go with what I got. You put the bowl with the rocks in there. You fill up water around the rocks. Just enough to cover the water, to cover the roses. Okay? And then we're going to set this bowl on top. And I probably should have used the other one, because now I need a smaller bowl. So it's okay. Now the reason you have the bowl with the rocks in it is because you need to make sure it's weighted down so that it doesn't move around as the water is boiling. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna get something else, because this ain't working. Okay, I'm back. I probably cut some of this out because I had to switch the pots and stuff because it wasn't working, and rather than have you sit there watch all the time, I just switched it out. So the rocks were not working, so I'm using just some dried beans instead. That way I can fit the bowl inside. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to use this one because it'll fit right inside. Now, here's the tricky part. Now you need a lid that's going to seal and keep the condensation in, okay? So I'm using this one. So what's going to happen is as the water boils, the condensation is going to end up on the lid, and then it's going to drop down into the little bowl. Okay, that's why the lid is turned upside down. Now if you're like me, all your pots have this little steam hole. I'm going to use a chopstick to stick in there to keep it sealed. Now the reason I want to do that is twofold. One, I need to keep all the steam inside, and then two, I'm going to be putting ice on top of the lid. The ice on top of the lid is going to help create more condensation as the water boils so that you can get more rose water. Now, as I was stating before, there's two different things. You have rose infused water, and then you have rose water. Now, rose infused water would be the water. So after this boils, because we're going to boil this for about 10-15 minutes, the water that's actually in the pot, that would be considered infused water. Okay? And you can use that as well. You don't have to pour it out. You can use it to fragrance the house. You can still use it for everything else you can use the regular rose water for, except for it's not exactly the same. It's not going to be exactly the same. So the rose water is distilled water. And distilled water is from the condensation. That's what makes it distilled. So it's when the steam comes up, hits the lid, and drains down into the actual little bowl. And that's what makes it distilled. It's because it's steam condensation. That's all distilled water is steam condensation. All right. So let me get you guys back up. I'll move this to the stove. Okay. Now, the other thing about this, because I'm about to turn this on so it can boil. I want to make sure that lid is all the way on. So we want to get this water boiling. And like I said, it's going to do this. Once it starts boiling, we're going to have it, leave it on here for about 10-15 minutes. The other thing is once it starts to boil, you want to put ice on top of the lid. Okay? So I'm going to give this a second to start boiling, and then I'm going to put the ice on top of the lid, and then you want something that you can scoop the water off with, okay? Because the water is going to collect, and you take the water off, put more ice on, take the water off, put more ice on. I'm hoping I got enough ice. If I don't, it's okay. We're going to work with what we got. Now, while that's doing that, I have a clean mason jar, okay? This is what I'm going to put the rose oil in, okay? And to make the rose oil, I'm going to take these petals, which are pretty dry. And my paper towel is brown because it's bamboo paper towel. It's not mandatory that you use bamboo paper towel. Use whatever you got. I just wanted to make sure. Ooh, it smells so good, y'all. I just want to make sure that they're dry so that it works better. That's all. Okay, so I'm going to take all of these, pat them down one more time. All right. So they're pretty dry now. So I'm going to take all of these, and we're going to put them in the oil. So I'm going to put the oil in here first. And this is grapeseed oil. You can use grapeseed oil, jojoba oil, any oil that's really good for the skin. All right. And now we just take this and we put these in. And you want to make sure you cover it up. Just grabbing a knife because that'll make it easier to punch down in here. Now the reason I said I don't know if I'm going to show the whole video on this is because once we finish the process on this, I forgot to turn that water on. Once we finish the process on this, it has to sit for 24 hours. So we're just going to keep putting this all in here. So I want this nice and fragrant. And that's why I said it really don't matter if, you get the brown bits in there on this. It doesn't really matter. Because you're just pulling out the oils in this. Now this is going to be an infused oil, okay? Because to make an essential oil, you have to go through a whole process that's similar to distilling it, okay? Where you're pulling the oil out of the actual plant. That's what makes it an essential oil. This is not an essential oil. This is an infused oil, okay? Infused. Now, the roses, if you can see, I'm about to show you in a minute. All right. I got them in there. As you can see, it's barely covered. There we go. So I'm just going to add just a little bit more oil to this. I just want to make sure it's nice and covered, because it will wilt and go down as the process. All right. So now I got this sealed up. This is ready to go. Now all we're waiting on now is water to boil. So we got this. Let me bring you in so you can see. Hold on. Okay. So you see all of that condensation? It's going to drip down into the little bowl. And that's your rose water. Okay, so because this started, I'm going to put the ice on. All right, once this ice melts, I'm going to take it off and put some more ice. Okay, but that's what this is the rose water, and you can see the water boiling. Okay, and it's all going to collect in a little bowl. See how that's running down? I hope it's collecting in there. Well, anyway, we about to find out. I hope it's collecting in there. But anyway, so we're going to let this sit. And then I just have a pot of some boiling water. Okay. So what we're going to do, this is why I hate moving this thing. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're waiting. See, here's an ant. All right. So while we're waiting on this water to boil, because once that boils, we're going to put this in there so it can infuse. I ended up not using that. Now, while that's doing that, I'm going to go over the information. That way you can see. Okay, so there are certain benefits. Before I even get started with these benefits, let me give y'all my disclaimer. Because I don't want nobody saying, well, Toya said. Nope, I'm going to give you my disclaimer. So the statements that I make in regards to this rose water and rose oil have not been approved by the FDA or Food and Drug Administration. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any illnesses or diseases. Not intended for use by pregnant women or nursing women. If you have medical conditions or taking medication, consult your doctor or pharmacist prior to use, and discontinue use and consult your doctor if the desired reaction, adverse reaction occurs. Okay. So now that I got that out, so I can cover my own butt, let's get into the nitty gritty. A couple of things I want to mention. One, with the rose water, use distilled water, because distilled water, let me change that. Use distilled water if you're going to use the infused water as well as the distilled water. Okay, and the reason I say that is because distilled water is clean. It doesn't have anything in it, okay? Which means it's going to be better for your skin, better for you internally, like all of that is going to be better. So if you're going to use the raw water that's actually in the pot that's infusing, then make sure you're using distilled water so you have a clean basis for your water. Okay, that's number one. Number two, do not use flowers from your florist. Okay, they're not organic. They get sprayed. They don't even have smells to them anymore. Okay, so if you can find somebody that got some fresh roses or rose bush that will let you have the petals off of them just before they die, or something like that, because you do have to keep pruning them, and sometimes you're pruning, flowers that are really good, like what I did today. So you can ask your neighbor, friend, family, somebody like that doesn't spray it with pesticides and things like that. You can ask them. I didn't spray these with anything, so I can use this. So they're out from my rose bush. The other thing is, go get you a rose bush, plant it, let it grow, then you have your own. But do not use the rose bushes from the florist, okay? Do not use the roses from the florist. Because like I said, or even at the grocery store, because they have no smell, they're not organic, and they have pesticides and things on them. Those flowers are bred just for the beauty of them. They're not bred for anything else. It's just for looks, okay? So don't use those. And then I did explain already infused versus essential. So like I said, essential oil is a whole chemistry breakdown, okay? That's the one where you see them little beakers and they got all these little tubes going and stuff and things dropping because they're pulling the oil out of whatever it is that they're whatever the oil is for. So in this case with roses, they're actually pulling the oil out of the actual rose petals. And that's how you make that. What we're doing today is infuse. So when you seep it like this, when you seep a herb in the oil like this, that means it's infused. It is not essential. And I want to make sure that that's clear because a lot of people will confuse that. Yeah, and then again, we have infused water, and then we're also making the rose water. Okay, so the rose water is the condensation. Because rose water, the whole purpose is distilled. The other is infused because you're boiling it, and then you can drain it and put it in a spray bottle and use it as you need to. Okay, so now that that's out the way, we're going to get into the rest of it. So oil. Before I even start out, I want to share a little story. So I was watching this documentary on Nostradamus, and he was alive during the plague that was going on and was actually a doctor. So he wasn't just somebody that prophesize things to come. He was actually a doctor. And so the patients that he was treating, he was using rose petals. Okay, he would make this little pellet out of the rose petals that dissolved under the tongue and would treat the patients, and his patients recovered. Why? While the doctors in the other, industrial side that was doing modern Western medicine, their patients kept dying. And so they were losing patients, and people were turning away from them and coming to see Nostradamus to have him treat them, because he had a success rate, and they basically shut him down. Because he was more successful, they said he was taking money away from them, and that he wasn't properly treating patients and all this other stuff, and they shut him down. But it was made from rose petals. Okay, so there are recipes with rose petals in them, as far as like a hibiscus and rose water tea, which is what you could use the infused water for, or the distilled water, either one of them. But yeah, there's rose petal chicken. Like I've seen recipes for rose petals, so just look them up, rose petal recipes, because you can actually eat and consume roses. But again, don't just go to your florist and pick one off and think you're gonna eat it. You're gonna make yourself sick because there's too many chemicals on it. Now, for the oil, the rose oil is a great pain reliever. Okay, and for ladies, when you have the menstrual cramps and stuff, you can actually use some of the oil to rub on your abdomen to help relieve the pain of the cramps and stuff. It's also a good pain reliever, period. Okay, so if you have pain in your joints or arthritis, something like that, it's a good pain reliever. The smell, because the way roses smell, they're so fragrant, they're actually decrease anxiety and stress and depression. They help with depression as aromatherapy. Roses have antibacterial and antifungal properties, okay? And that's on the outside as well as the inside. So you can take it and it will actually help to treat and, well, remember what I said with my disclaimer, but help with infections and things like that. Did I just tell you don't take them antibiotics your doctor gave you? No, I did not. I said they help with infection, and they help with infections, okay? And they can help prevent it, okay? But don't go telling nobody I told you just to take it by yourself. You can try and see if it works, but don't say I told you to do it. Okay, and then it stimulates your digestion. Okay, so anything that stimulates your digestion means it helps to stimulate the bowels to move out of your digestion. And again, like always, I have links, so you can check the links below to give yourself more information. Now, the water is boiling, so all I'm going to do is put this in there. And I'm going to put it sideways because I want to make sure most of it is covered. And then we're going to let this boil for 15 minutes. Okay. I hope this is working. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Oh, nice. Don't do what I just did, y'all. Trust is working. Don't do what I just did. So don't do that. Don't do that. So I'm just taking this water off because you're not supposed to lift the lid as you saw me do. So don't do that. But it is working. It's collecting. And like I said, you can use red roses, white roses, pink roses, yellow roses, whatever roses that grow in your garden or your neighbor garden or whoever garden you're using. You can use any of those, okay? I hope that's enough ice because that's all the ice I got. All right, I'll deal with that later. Okay, so now moving on to the water. Okay, so rose water. Rose water will soothe the skin, okay? So any skin irritations that you have, like rashes, eczema, psoriasis, burns, cuts, scars, any of that kind of thing with your skin, you can put the rose water on and it will actually help to soothe it, okay? Let's see. Prevents and treats infections. So again, that's when you take it internally or you use it externally. So by using it on your cuts, scars, or burns, you're actually preventing any infection on it as well because of the antibacterial and antifungal properties of it, okay? Contains antioxidants, okay? Antioxidants prevent cell damage, okay? So it prevents the cells from damage, which is good. Like I said, and most of your plants, fruits, vegetables, herbs, seeds, nuts, mainly everything that was growing and living has antioxidants in it, okay? It's a mood enhancer as well. So like the oil helps with anxiety, stress, and depression, so does the actual water. So it enhances the mood. It relieves headaches. It has anti-aging properties to it, and it also soothes the digestion. So that's what this does as far as the oil as well as the water. Okay, so this stuff ain't ready. It's got about another 10 minutes. This probably got about another 8 minutes, but about another 8 to 10 minutes. So, and I gave you all the information. Remember, do not use the floral, the flowers from the florist. Okay, to make this stuff, do not use the flowers from the florist unless. The only way I would say go ahead and use it is if you talk to the florist and they say that it's organic and they don't spray any pesticides on it. And if you find a florist that does that and you are in the Metro Detroit area, let me know, because I will go there and get them as well. Okay? But your florists, they do not design their flowers for you to use for medicinal purposes or to use internally. They breed them for the looks alone. And like I said, the past few flowers that I've received, they don't even smell. Okay? You go to the grocery store, none of these flowers smell. And that's because they're not created to smell. They're created to look good and be beautiful. Okay? So do not use the flowers from the florist. Okay? Find somebody that's growing them. I'm not telling you to go out and steal anything from anybody, although I did see them bushes at the front of my complex here. I found some, they planted some rose bushes and they red. But I don't know if they're going to spray them with anything either, though, so I don't know. But I did peep them out when I was coming in today because they just did that. But anyway, y'all ain't hear that from me. But find you some organic rose petals, okay? And use those. And again, those are the ones without the pesticide, because remember, this is stuff you're going to be putting on your skin and you may even be ingesting. Okay, and if it's on your skin, it's going to seep into your body. If you're ingesting it, it's going to seep into your body. So don't use the ones from the florist. Okay, find somebody who got some and use those. And again, infuse means you soaked it in the oil, or you soaked it in or boiled it in water. So infuse means it's diluted with the water, okay, or diluted with the oil. So do not think that's essential oil. Essential oil is actually a chemical process that they use. You'll see the beakers and the little tubes and everything, because I thought about ordering one. But you got to use so much product, okay? I would probably have to use all the rose petals from the whole season this year and next year to make this much essential oil, okay? Just that much. Okay, so you use a lot more processed products. It's a lot longer process. So please do not think that the oil infused is essential oil, because it is not. They are two different things. Okay, so I'm gonna cut it here so that I can let this stuff boil and finish up, and then once it's done, I'm gonna bring you guys back once the boiling and the time has gone by, because it's already long. Okay, so we are back. The water has finished. Take that out. Y'all, it smell like cabbage. I ain't gonna lie. It smell like cabbage. It might be the beans. But we gonna see. All right, and then this is our water. See how much it made? The distilled rose water. And there's a little bit left in here. I don't know if I'm gonna use that or not, because it don't smell right. But we'll see. Once everything cools off, we'll see. And then now for the oil. The oil finish. Okay, so this needs to cool completely, because this is the oil. It's still hot. But this needs to cool completely, and then you leave it sitting in the oil for at least, at bare minimum, 24 hours. But ideally, you want it to actually sit for at least 3-4 days, okay? And then you strain it, and then once you strain it, you have the oil that's left, and that's your rose-infused oil, okay? So see the color of that already? Let me come in. Okay, you see that? Okay, and that's the rose-infused oil. All right, now for the water. Right, let's pour this in. So these were, if you remember the video I did with the wellness shot with the turmeric, that's what these are. These are left over from that. So I'm just gonna pour this water in here. I am making a mess. Wasting the water. Okay, that ain't gonna feel good with this. Still making a mess, y'all. Okay, I'm wasting more than I'm getting. Don't make no sense. Okay, so that's one whole bottle. You're gonna see how much this makes since I've been wasting it. Like that. Okay, so I probably could have got 2 bottles out of this if I didn't waste so much on the counter. Smells like roses. Not exactly, it's a little different, but it smells like roses. Like I said, it probably would have been 2 bottles if I didn't spill everything. But this is the diffused water. Now, as far as this one goes, let's see what we got in here. It actually does smell like roses. It probably smells stronger like roses once it's done. Okay, so this is the infused rose water. Okay? And this one I could put in a spray bottle or a mister or something like that to where you can mist yourself, mist your body, you can rub it on your skin. I had a burn here, so I just rubbed some on there. But that's your rose water. So we have the distilled rose water, and we have the infused rose water, and we have our infused oil. But again, this needs to sit out for a bare minimum 24 hours, but it's better if it does it for a couple of days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cool completely, and then once it cools, I'm actually going to put it in the cabinet so it's in a dark place, so it can finish the infusion process once it's cooled down. But that's your oil, and these are the waters. Now, you can put these again in food or in drink or do different things with it because it's good for you internally as well as externally. And if you do decide to do this, don't make a mess like I just did, okay? Don't waste your water. Use all of it. All right, so that's it for today. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share, because if you get something out of it, chances are someone else will as well. And look at that color, y'all. Look at that color. It's such a pretty golden color. Here, can y'all see that golden color? So pretty. But anyway, that's the infused water. Actually, it kind of looked like apple juice. It's the color of Mott's apple juice. But that's the rose water for you and rose oil. I hope you enjoyed it. If you decide to make it or do this, let me know, because I would love to see how it went for you and what you thought about the process. But I love you guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.